By 2030, Japan's Nomura Research Institute projects 1% of every house in the country will be sitting empty. And about 400 of those empty houses belong to hamlets, where the VIIRS nighttime light satellite reads literal 0 on the luminosity scale. Pull up the registry for one of those pixels in the Shikoku Mountains, say a nameless offshoot of the Iya Valley, and you'll find parcels still legally owned but registered as mujo ownerless. Because the inheritance tax, 30–55%, costs more than the market value of the structure, so heirs just stop filing. The demographic pyramid, the property registry, and the satellite data all point to the same dot on the map, and nobody is putting a camera on it. Open any article about Japan's akiya crisis, and you will read about low birth rates, urban migration, and inheritance tax loopholes. But drive 90 minutes up the hairpin roads of the Iya Valley in western Tokushima, and you find a hamlet where the youngest resident turned 72 last autumn, and not a single economic policy could have changed that outcome. The valley stretches 30 kilometers through the Shikoku Mountains, carved by the Yoshino River into walls that exceed 45 degrees in places, and every hamlet here sits on a narrow terrace hacked from bedrock by ancestors who chose defensibility over convenience. A choice that made sense in the 16th century and became a trap by the 20th. Here is the first correction. The valley does not receive 1,800 millimeters of rain annually because of some vague mountain climate. It sits directly in the collision zone where the East Asian monsoon slams into the Shikoku Mountains, forcing moisture upward until it condenses into relentless downpours that exceed 300 millimeters in a single typhoon event, and that water has nowhere to go but down. That rainfall does not simply wet the ground. It saturates the weathered schist and phyllite bedrock until the pore pressure exceeds the sheer strength of the slope, triggering debris flows that move at 30 kilometers per hour and strip the thin volcanic soil down to bedrock, a process that has accelerated as cedar plantations replaced deep-rooted broadleaf forests after the war. Second correction, the hamlets are not dying because young people left for Tokyo. They left because the ground beneath their houses moves 2 to 3 centimeters per year on average, because the single prefectural road washes out 3 times per decade, because the nearest emergency room sits 90 minutes away on a road that closes when rainfall exceeds 50 millimeters per hour, and because the geological hazard maps published in 2018 reclassified 60% of the valley's residential land as high-risk, relocation recommended. The settlement pattern itself reveals the geographic trap. 18 hamlets once dotted the valley, each with 5 to 15 households clustered around a water source and a scrap of arable land. But the terraces totaled less than 2 hectares per hamlet, enough for subsistence millet and buckwheat, never enough for rice surplus, never enough to attract commerce, never enough to justify a paved road. Until 1973, take the hamlet of Ochiai, not the tourist stop with the Vine Bridge, but the 1–3 kilometers further upstream, where the 2020 census recorded 6 residents in 3 households, the youngest born in 1952, the oldest in 1938, and every house shows the same structural fatigue. Foundations cracked by differential settlement, roof beams bowed under snow loads that exceed 2 meters, walls bulging from slope creep that no retrofit can arrest. The infrastructure failure is not abstract. The water supply relies on a bamboo pipeline installed in 1962 that freezes in January and bursts in June. The electrical grid suffers voltage drop so severe that rice cookers fail at the far end. And the telephone line was severed by a landslide in 2014 and never replaced because NTT calculated the cost per subscriber at 4 million yen. And this is where the 72-year-old youngest resident becomes the inevitable statistic. She cannot drive the hairpin curves at night. She cannot clear the snow from her roof alone. She cannot evacuate in the 30-minute window between a landslide warning and the debris flow arrival. And the government's relocation subsidy of 1 million yen covers neither the cost of urban housing nor the loss of the ancestral gravesite that anchors her identity to this slope. Satellite imagery from 1984 to 2023 shows the valley's forest cover shifting from mixed broadleaf to 90% cedar monoculture, the landslide scars multiplying from 12 to 47, the hamlet footprints shrinking as houses collapse and are not rebuilt, and the road network unchanged. A single lane with 12 passing places, 30 kilometers, the same alignment surveyed in 1923. Compare this to the Kiso Valley in Nagano. Same latitude, same rainfall, same geology. But there the river runs through a wider floodplain that allowed a railway in 1900, a highway in 1968, and commuter towns that still sustain populations of 3,000 because geography permitted the one thing Iya Valley never could: economies of scale. The vine bridges that tourists photograph, the Kazurabashi, are not cultural treasures preserved for beauty. They were the only engineering solution for a valley where steel bridges require foundations that the moving slopes destroy, where concrete abutments crack within a decade, and where the annual replacement of wild grapevines is the only maintenance regime that matches the terrain's tempo. The trajectory is now mathematically certain. At the current mortality rate of 1 resident per 18 months, the last household in Ochiai will be empty by 2034. The prefecture will formally abolish the administrative district by 2036. The cedar plantations will revert to landslide-prone scrub without thinning, and the valley will return to the state it held before the Heian period. Uninhabited, ungoverned, and geologically active. First came the slope that dictated the terrace. Then came the rain that doomed the terrace. Then came the road that could not hold. Then came the subsidy that could not cover. Then came the 72-year-old who could not leave. The village did not fade. It was erased by a geography that never negotiated. The mountain keeps its schedule regardless of who watches, and the next valley over is already reading the same script.